Welcome to the NYC Godcast, where we offer wacky wisdom weekly from God's Word. Well, it's officially camp season. Please hold your applause. So we have officially made it to the month of May, which is really mind-blowing. So around here, we are up to our eyeballs in tickets and slime, purr stations, and all sorts of random things. I was actually making I think I told you, I was making a list before this podcast for a lady in our church who does a lot of the like craftsy, artsy stuff for us for camp. And as I'm typing this, I'm like, this has to be the most random assortment of things I've ever typed on a keyboard ever. Like, I would list them for you, but you would be afraid to come to camp, and so you wouldn't understand. But that's just kind of life right now. And so it's a fun time around here. But on the Godcast, we're really excited this month to, as promised, take aim for our theme this year, which is Life on Target. So hopefully you all have seen the promo trailer up until this point, but if not, we're going to play it for you so that you guys can all be up to speed. And so here is Life on Target. CJ, put Life on Target right here. Video. So this year, we're aiming at, so the overarching question for the theme of camp this year is, what does a life on purpose look like for a Christian? It's really easy to grow up in this culture, in school, in sports, and family, and really even in the church, and to start feeling overwhelmed by all the targets that we're told to aim for in life. Like, this is the priority, this is the aim, this is what we're supposed to be doing. So like to your coach, sports success might sound like the bullseye that you're supposed to aim for. And so all your time and all your effort and energy, everything goes into the bullseye of sports. To your teacher, it might be academics, like to get that grade, to get that score, to get that, whatever you do is for whatever smart people do, get that. That's what you aim for. And so obviously I've never aimed there, but someone might do that. For your parents, it might be just don't be an imbecile. Like, that might be the aim they set for you in life. Like, just don't be an idiot. Maybe you're aiming at a good career. Maybe it's a little family with a picket fence and a dog named Toto. Like, maybe that's what you're aiming everything for. A lot of times we come to church, and instead of putting us at the right thing, a lot of times even the church gets on this bandwagon and starts to tell us to aim for misaligned targets. So we may be told to aim for morals, or to aim for works, or to aim for various things. And while none of those things are necessarily bad, they're not the bullseye. They're not the center of the center. And so the true bullseye.
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
The true bullseye of every human being can only rightfully be determined by the target maker. So whoever makes the target itself gets to pick where the bullseye lies, right? And so, in other words, only God, the creator and maker of humanity, can truly define what a life on target looks like. And so, unless we aim for his bullseye, we actually waste the very purpose we were created for. I don't remember if I made it to the final cut of camp. You might remember. But in one of the many drafts that we had for Monday of camp, we were talking about how inventors' intent. So, like, I don't know very many inventors, because as I've already said up to this point, I'm not a very smart person. But like Thomas Edison, like, he creates the light bulb. I know that one because he's from Ohio, and not far from here, actually. And so Thomas Edison invents the light bulb. He invites him over. And the intent of his invention is very obvious. Light. Yeah, light. Like, that was the intent. But like, you could take a light bulb and use it for a lot of other things and miss the inventor's intention in that invention. You could look at like any invention, really. Only the inventor has the right to define the intent behind the invention. It's the same way with God. God creates mankind, and only God gets to define why he created us and what a life on purpose looks like. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about at camp. So today is our first episode of the month of May. So on today's episode, we're just going to kind of unpack a little bit about what Monday's theme is going to be like at camp. So Monday's theme is all about aiming for a life of all-ness, all living. And so if you read the Bible, it's easy to start to feel overwhelmed by all of the things it says to do and keep, and the lists and the laws and all the things. It can get overwhelming in a hurry. But in reality, and what we're going to talk about Monday of camp, is the Bible is actually really consistent in its messaging for our calling as a Christian. Literally from Genesis to Revelations and everywhere in between, the Bible tells us that the aim of our life is actually to give God our all. Like, that's why he created us in Genesis. That's why he called his people in Deuteronomy. That's why he sent Jesus. That's why the church is born in Acts. That's why in the book of Revelations, he judges us all on this concept of all-ness. this concept of giving our all to him, making him the priority of our lives. And so we were created, we were set apart, we were saved to give God our all. A life on target is a life where the totality of our life is surrendered to God to use for his glory while holding nothing back. Which means that every thought, every word, every action, every deed, every desire, all of us belongs to all of him. And that's really what a life on target looks like. So question for the table, how would you define all-ness or a life of all-ness?
When everything you do is like towards one thing. That's all. Like I'm not very good at words, but keeping your focus on one thing, pushing everything else to the side. Like all you can see is that one, like the target that's straight in front of you instead of anything around you.
Singularity. Yeah, definitely.
Instead of like splitting your life into like slices, because I'm doing this motion. That's what comes out with that. Like instead of like trying to like
a sushi chef.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Or a masseuse. I don't know what you're actually doing.
A masseuse? I don't think so. Instead of like trying to like fill all the little things, it's all in one.
Yeah.
So like instead of spreading out.
Yeah.
All.
I would say that's probably more accurate for most people I know, like Christians and non-Christians. It's not that we aim for necessarily the wrong thing, it's that we aim for too many things.
Yeah.
Like
there's spreading out.
Yeah.
Like,
and ironically, that was kind of the criticism that God's people got in the Old Testament was a plurality of gods. Like they wanted to have all the gods of the people around them. And that was really the fault that God had with them. And so we should learn our lesson that doesn't end well. But that even today, like that's kind of the American dream. Like you can be, what is the saying? Something about something and the master of none. Can't remember the first part of that saying.
Jack of all trade.
Yeah, Jack, that's him. Jack of all trade and the master of none. And that's kind of how we are spiritually. Like we've got our family, our careers, our sports, our finances, and church is in there too.
Well, I think it's because we're afraid of missing out on something. So like we think like if we do a little bit of everything, then we won't miss out. But really the only way we won't miss out is if it's all in him.
And if you miss out on things, like Jesus doesn't hide the fact that when he calls us, we are going to miss out on things. Like I think that's kind of one of the things we've fallen for in modern day Christianity is that we can have our cake and eat it too. We think we can have all of the world and all of Jesus. And yet in reality, he says you have to forsake these things. You're going to lose out on things, but I'm worth it. Like that's the message that Jesus comes with.
Well, it's like the song, I think it was a camp song, like anything you put before God is an idol. And that's what we lose sight of. It's the verse says like anything we do to the Lord, do it wholeheartedly. But that doesn't mean that we can do our little things. Yes, our family is important. Yes, our friends are important. Church is important. All these different things. But our main focus throughout anything, because ministry, all different things can be put before God. We can make anything about ourselves, and that's the thing. It was never intended to be that way. Yeah. It was all to do everything wholeheartedly to the Lord.
And I think you see, like, even in the Bible, like, just like Peter had a family. Yeah. But, like, you look at the life of Peter, and we don't really know anything about his family, except for that he had one. And so, like, his aim in life was very trajectory. Like, he was aiming for the center of the center, which was to follow the Lord. And so, kind of to your point, like Jesus says to forsake all and follow him. It's not that we have to forsake our family and leave them behind. It's that our aim is undeniably set on the Lord, and they're a part of that aim, not dividing our aim.
Well, and the thing is too, like, you realize when you're reading, like when I'm reading my Bible, when I'm actually doing the things that will push me towards Christ, even doing more ministries in the church that actually I feel like I am called to do, that's when even family time and different things in our lives, like those relationships grow so much. We may think, oh, we're going to miss out on this little thing or like all these random things that we want to be a part of. But then when we put our focus on the Lord, he places those things in our lives like in a perfect line of, this is what I'm blessing you with because you are truthfully seeking me.
I don't think this made it to the final cut either. Or maybe it did, and I'm just blowing the lid off the whole month. That's very well could be possible too. But at one point, me and you and Jamie talked about how, so if you look at a target, right, you got the circles. I know nothing about darts. Full transparency. Like I could be totally making all this up and camp's going to be a bust this year. That's very likely. But like in a target, like all the circles have point values. So in theory, if you hit that center bullseye, you're actually getting all of the rings in the right order. Like you're getting the point value of all the outer rings. And so that's kind of what Emma's saying is like, if you put God first, you'll actually get your family and your all these other things, but in the right priority. And so you get the value of those things and it's actually enriched if you aim correctly and put God first. And the opposite is also true. When you aim for that third ring, you're actually going to lose out on all of what's important because you're aiming in the wrong place.
Yeah. the one thing that we need to keep in mind also is the deception of the enemy is to want those things and to prioritize those things. I mean, even from the beginning of Genesis, right? The deception was you can have more, or you can be more than what God had intended for you, and we fall for that even today. It's the same trick, the same thing. And so we, like you said, we aim for those things, thinking that those things are top priority, without knowing that we're
Absolutely.
falling for the same trick.
So the truth is, if we're not actually aiming for allness, we're going to miss it every time. If we're intentionally only giving up part of our lives to God, a piece here, a part there, then we're actually off in our aim altogether, and we'll always biff the bullseye. We're always going to miss the target we don't aim for. And so second question is, I guess, a little more personal for everybody. In what areas of your life are you most tempted not to live in allness? Or maybe better stated, what areas of your life are you most tempted to keep back for yourself?
I feel like sometimes it's like the small areas in my life, because it's a lot easier to be like, well, like he's kind of busy hanging in the stars and like helping all these big things. So like these little things, like I'm gonna just keep those, but then those all add up. So I feel like it's a lot of little things. Motherhood, not that motherhood's little thing, but sometimes just like little parts of motherhood. It's like, well, I can maybe handle this, but I really, really can't. Like it ends up going really bad when I try to do it on my own.
Well, and that's the big thing for me, like, especially like being, for me, not motherhood yet, but being a wife. Like, I want to take that in my own hands, a lot of things within it, because I am in the flesh and it's easy to do that. But then once I do give it up, it's like amazing how much easier things go and everything. But I really struggle with that. Like, that's been a big thing since Lucas and I have gotten married, really giving that to him, because that's the reason for marriage and everything. But I never, like, it's hard.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would say, just feel like I'm following along. Should answer first and then I would. But no, like, so, to some people is different, right? Like, say you struggle with like a illness or something. Some people that might be what keeps them from trusting God or giving it to God, right? And some people might have a job, right? They feel comfortable in their job, and so they don't trust God because they're comfortable in that. But for me, I find the one thing that always I find myself getting in the way is with my family. I know that God loves them more than I could ever love them, and I know that God wants the best for them, and yet I find myself placing myself in the middle and saying, I'm going to be the one that does this, and only to find myself failing time and time again. And that's because I'm aiming not at what I believe is aiming at being that godly role model or whatever, but my aim is skewed. I need to aim to be the father that God has called me to, be the husband that God has called me to. So that's where I struggle.
Well, it's kind of like you said earlier, how we can lose sight of it and not even realize that we're doing it, because we all said family, and how hard is it? Like, I am a fixer. When Lucas is upset, when something's going on, I want to just fix it. But that's where we have to put it in God's hands. But really, we don't even sometimes realize it. Like, we're just so instinct on, I want to help you. I want to fix this. I want to make it better. But really, it's just but God. God can fix it so much better than we ever could even imagine.
So kind of to segue from that question, what is the price of living without allness? So like there is, in fact, and kind of Miguel kind of alluded to that with the fall and the garden, there is actually a price attached to not giving God your all or holding any part of your life back. So what is that price?
So like when it comes to like motherhood and like the struggles that I have there, like when I start to do, whether it's school or discipline or whatever, when I start to do that myself, like I notice that we're all grumpy and we're all fighting and we're also like, it's like we just don't have that like peace and that calm, and like God's presence just isn't there with us when I'm trying to do it on my own.
Feeling unfulfilled, like
yeah,
lazy, like not really all entirely there, nothing really goes right. It's like the moments where like you see like you stub your toe and you're angry because you're
Belt loop gets
starting
caught on the door.
Like I remember a couple weeks ago, like I literally probably hit my elbow like 4 times in one day, and I know that I wasn't putting what was going on in God's hands, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
If we see Emma walking to church next Sunday with a Band-Aid on her
brace.
elbow,
Oh.
we're going to know exactly why. And everybody say, Emma, give it to God.
Yes. No, I think to the most extreme, especially like we were speaking about, like parenthood, to the most extreme is to push your children away from the Lord. My biggest fear as a Christian is my children turning 18 and not wanting anything to do with God because of me doing it my way. And that's the kind of thing that like it haunts me. It scares me. And yeah.
I think for all of us, like, I think there's a scale here. You know what I mean? There's the moment by moment, like noticing God's peace is gone, or noticing we're getting angry, or our elbows hurt. But then there is too, like there is that, like kind of Miguel's point, there's that big
Like
price
ultimate
tag too.
price.
Yeah. But can you imagine, like, there's always, every time in the minutia to the major, there's always a price for not giving it all to God. Yet some people forge ahead regardless, and the price continues to build and mount and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And like eventually it's gonna be time to pay. And like, you know, not to get into eschatology, but at the end when we stand before the Lord, if you are a Christian, you're going to give an account for your stewardship. You're going to give an account for the life that you lived, not necessarily the sins he saved you from, but for the life you lived. And so that's going to be the time to pay the price. That's going to be the time where it's like, I gave my life for you and you held your life back from me. And give an account. Why'd you do that? Like, that should be sobering for all of us. A life on purpose is a life of allness. It's giving our all to him, knowing that one day he's going to come back and take tabs on the life we lived. Well, that's a little bit about Monday, aiming for allness. And so we're really excited to just keep unpacking this year's theme over the next several weeks leading up to camp. And so we hope that y'all stick around with us, and we'll come back for those. So today's considerable quote actually comes from this year's camp theme from the NYC. And so we say, if we will dedicate our lives to aiming for what he has defined as the target of our lives, we can live with confidence that our lives will actually count. Today's featured content is by Casting Crowns. It's a song called Jesus at a Distance. And so today we kick off the official start of the announcements of what we bring to camp for points for your team and to get your name entered in for drawings. And so today's first item, Miguel, what should they bring to camp?
A dart.
A-
Or a picture of a dart.
Okay. So a dart could be dangerous.
The camp nurse is already writing anger letters to you, like, what were you thinking? The sharpest darts pop. No, don't do that. A dart. Good call. Good call. All right, so tune in every month or every week this month.
Every month.
You get extra bonus points if you teach Josh how to play darts.
Yeah, I have no clue. I'm really not good at that at all. Julie and I went up to the ministry center yesterday after we all left, and we're trying out the bow and arrow.
Yeah. Didn't go well.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Anyhow, make sure to tune in for that each week. And so make sure to bring a dart or picture of a dart to camp. On May 26th, we will be announcing the official teams of the NYC 2025. And so make sure to tune into that episode as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, and anything else.
We'll be seeing you soon.
We'll see you very soon. Very soon. There is still time to register. Technically, registration ended a few days ago, but it is still open. There is a late fee now, but it is still open. So there's still time to save your spot. But yeah, numbers are still coming in. So yeah. I think that's it. So until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.
I never like these. I can never figure out which ones. Nope. This is the one I'm having a problem with. Nope. CJ, you're gonna use this, aren't you? I already could see myself in the bloopers, so I can see it now.